This is Mr. V. Welcome to this video on correcting for local attractions. Alright, here we have a traverse given to us by these field nodes. And in the previous video we looked at traverse that was completely correct. However, in this traverse there are some errors. Now let me point those out by sketching out our traverse. So we've got point P and roughly 141 degrees. So let's go heading down this way. Here's point Q. Then 56, so that's roughly this way. That's point R. Then 123 degrees to S. And then 14 degrees to T. Right. And all of these are given forward bearings and back bearings. So let me put north in for all of them. Okay. Now, we know from definition that forward bearing and back bearing are 180 degrees from each other, so in completely opposite directions. And when everything is right, that works out. But sometimes at a certain point, you can have something that attracts the needle of your compass. And we call it a local attraction because it only affects one point. But what it results in is that both that any bearings measured from that point don't go straight from north, they're actually off by a certain amount. And we need to be able to fix for that adjustment. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to tabulate this and see if we can figure out where the local attractions in this traverse might be. I'm going to start by putting down what legs I have. So PQ, QR, RS, and ST. It's an open traverse. We don't end up looping back to the end. And I'm going to put in my forward bearing and my back bearing. So I'm pretty much just translating this information from our field notes so we can clearly point out any differences. So our forward bearing is 141, our back bearing is 317. Next one, 056, 236, 123, 304, and 014, 191, coming straight from our field notes. Now, per definition, assuming that everything is correct, the difference between these should be exactly 180. So let's figure out what these differences are. All right. So calculate these. We'll need a calculator for that. And these are the values we get. 176, 180, 181, and 177. And that is obviously a problem. We can see that the only one that, according to our definitions, is correct is leg Q and R. It's the only one that has 180 as the difference between forward bearing and back bearing. What that means is that we need to adjust any other ones. And we usually do this in table form, so it's easier to do our working. Okay. Now, some assumptions we can make. Because the difference between Q and between the forward bearing and the back bearing for QR is 180, we can assume that both point Q and point R are free from any attractions, which means no adjustments need to be made to either Q or R. but also for anything measured at Q and R, which is QP, the back bearing for PQ, so that's got to be safe, and for RS, the forebearing measuring from R to S, that one's got to be fine too. So we know not a single correction needs to be made there. So what else needs to be done? Well, what we can see is that if we can bring back the forward bearing from PQ, then it will fix this error. So if we make this angle slightly larger, then this will become 137, and that will make the difference 180. So we need to take 4 from that forward bearing. Now over here, we know that the forward bearing here has to be correct, so we just need to correct the back bearing. To do that, we take 1 from the back bearing to make this 303, and it makes this forward bearing 180. Now this one carries over to the next row, because if we need to adjust S by taking away 1, it's also automatically going to adjust S for the other one. So if this now becomes 0, 1, 3, we only need to make a tiny correction to this one to make it match out. We just need to add 2 to this one, so plus 2. We can double check this. If we take the difference, we minus away the correction for the forward bearing, and we add the correction for the back bearing, which are these values. That should then become 180. And that's a little check you can do. And we always show the corrected versions, the ones that we would then give to, say, our boss, or ones that we would give on our exam. So 141 minus 4 is 137. 317. We didn't have to at all fix these ones up. 123 was good. We just had to take 1 from 304. We had to take 1 from 14, and we had to add 2 to 191. So these are our answers, and that is how we correct for local attractions.